Hi, I'm Nancy Guppy, host of Art Zone, and we're devoting this week's show to Big Sonia, a documentary film about Sonia Warshawski, an amazing woman whose story of surviving the Holocaust is beautifully and intimately told by the filmmaking team Leah Warshawski, Sonia's granddaughter, and Leah's husband, Todd Soliday.
You live with it all your life, and you can never forget. I would catch myself laughing. I felt guilty. When they found us, they came with German shepherds, and those dogs sniffed us out. So I keep myself always busy, and this helps me not to think so much about it, what I went through.
I invited Leah and Todd to my place to talk about Big Sonia the movie and Big Sonia the person.
You think if you bring those flowers, Nancy's not going to ask you any hard questions.
Right, exactly. Totally suck you in. All right.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, you're bringing all your luggage. I love it. Good to see you.
Fresh off the plane.
Oh my God, come on in, you guys. Look at, see, we're all set up for you.
I know.
Wow.
All the way in.
Yeah.
Over here,
Awesome.
we're going to get some food.
Thank you.
Is this for me?
It is.
Oh,
How are
thing. Really great to see you guys.
So you
Come
won't
on.
ask him any hard
this
questions?
This is so pretty. Wow. Well, I'm so happy to see you. Do you want some tea?
I'm just
or
going to leave
coffee?
this.
I'll take a coffee. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want anything in it? A little Kahlua, a little brandy,
Yeah, that'd be
really
nice.
something like that?
I brought my own mug.
Oh, I can make some crazy strong coffee. Where's my... Well, it's just so fun to have you guys here.
Oh, thanks, Nancy.
Big Sonia, I'm a huge fan. It's a great film. Sonia, so compelling,
Thank
her
you.
story, and impressive filmmaking. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, it started in 2010, and I know that the project was not originally going to be a full-length documentary. It was going to be a short. So tell me about that.
Right, yeah, we had just come off our previous film, Finding Hollywood, and we were looking to do something quick turn and short. And
Much for that.
Yeah, Leah convinced me to go to Kansas City and meet her grandma and be sucked into that tiny, crazy little basement shop of Sonia's and experience what it's like to be there for a day.
Hi, how are you?
Immediately we knew we had this diva of a character and an amazing situation, just being in this dead mall with this...
Everything's closed down.
Everything's
for her.
closed, totally like dead space, gray, and you walk into her shop and it's a Brazilian jungle. I mean, it's just this crazy place. And I mean, I could see a 12 to 20 minute entertaining,
Easily.
short,
Right,
easily.
right.
In and out, done. Wow.
So what was the turning point? When did you realize, uh-oh, this has to be a full length. This can't be just a short.
Yeah,
There were a couple times, you know, over 7 years.
For me, the first was we followed her to a school where she spoke to a group of about 200 middle school students.
In Birkenau, Auschwitz, when one day when we are counted and the assessment went through the rows and just, you know, took our numbers and they start calling off those numbers were they supposed to go to the gas chamber.
You know, these are texting, totally distracted kids, and watching her just grip that entire room. And we pulled a half dozen of them aside and did a circle session with them to you know, so they could have some one-on-one time with her. And I knew right there, oh boy, we're in for a longer haul. Her impact is incredible.
There were
What about
other
you?
things along the way too. She got, midway through filming, she gets an eviction notice. And so that was a big, you know, as storytellers and filmmakers, we knew that there's a story arc.
The shop closing concerns me because she has such a drive to go every day.
It's good, you know, to be, you know, to have excitement, in my case, to be with people.
We knew that she would survive somehow because that's what she does, but we didn't know how. And so that was also exciting and also a little bit daunting, but we looked at each other when that happened and said, well, okay, this is a feature now.
The Sonia reality show is the gift that keeps
Yes,
giving.
yeah.
Well, and that shift, going to a deeper story, meant obviously a lot more shooting and cooperation, clearly from Sonia, but also from her children, your
Right.
Maury
Yeah, I
and,
mean-
and the aunts. Were they reluctant to take
Yes,
part?
nobody, and they would tell you this as well. Nobody in my family other than Sonia wanted to be in the movie. And I think once we sat down and started talking and they got more comfortable and obviously they got more emotional, I think it was a very therapeutic process for them to be able to tell us what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
And because people usually don't ask them. You know, people always talk about Sonia. They always want to talk to Sonia. They don't think about how she impacted her kids. And for the first time, I think we gave them a voice.
Well, this family really believes in family. They lost all their family, so the value of having family means so much more to them.
Anybody who's lost their family, especially the way they lost theirs,
Hello?
families just totally wiped out
Hello?
within a short period of time, makes you appreciate and understand. Family is number one.
And that's, you know, the extra burden that the second and first generation feels is part of that. We were the rebirth of everything they lost.
There's that scene, I mentioned this to you when we talked a while back, when your dad reads a poem.
Right.
And he wrote it as a young man, or I think so.
I think he was in his late 20s.
And it
or
was-
He
early
was in his
30s.
late 20s, writing from the perspective of an 11-year-old.
of 11-year-old, it was called Sonia 32,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And that moment when, so it's writing about his mother and he breaks down. Did that catch you off guard?
Yes.
Completely.
So this is something I'd completely forgotten about.
We happened to be at their house, and we thought we'd grab a quick interview, and Maury pulls out this book, and I mean, I was kind of like, oh gosh, we're gonna
boy,
listen
you
to a
didn't
poem.
read it.
Right,
All right,
yeah,
we'll let him
great.
have this one,
Yeah.
and that happened.
The poem is called Sonia at 32. I don't remember this poem at all, but I'll read it for you. And I haven't seen it in like a long time. Sonia at 32. The lady never shakes free the ashes of the dead. This lady is the witness who never forgets.
It broke our hearts,
Yes.
and we buried it. We didn't look at it for 2 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, so following that scene is, I think, a masterful edit. It goes
Thank you.
completely quiet, and it's Maury ironing, and all you hear is the iron and the steam. That was so powerful. So talk a little bit about that, and then I want to hear a little bit about the editing of the film.
Yes. I work with a very talented group of editors, myself, Doug LaVisca, and Eric Frith. And they helped us bring that scene into the movie, actually.
The ironing scene.
The ironing scene, the poem breakdown scene was something that Leah and I promised Maury we would not use. And it's something we didn't want to include in the film. It's not the direction we were going. But as we storyboarded the film out and more of the family story, the trauma that's passed down through generations became something we couldn't avoid.
Yeah.
And
became
Eric
unavoidable.
and Doug were like, come on guys, it's staring at you right in the face.
Yeah.
This is the movie.
She cries long distance about this and that, about the little man who is her son, the little son who is her husband.
Most documentaries about the Holocaust, they show those photographs, heartbreaking, from the camps after they're liberated. There's none of those photos in
Right.
Right.
Big Sonia. You chose to illuminate her most, or not her most, but her painful memories and stories through animation. So why did you choose animation?
We knew from the beginning we didn't want to show that footage. Primarily, we didn't want to give any audience member a reason to look away from the film. And in fact, with the animation, I think it draws you in deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
I worked with an animator, Don Norton, who really took the illustrations to a new level. a lot of nuance in simple animation creates emotion. Just the way a head tucks or the way she flinches from a beating, an eye blink or a tear on a cheek. She really brought Sonia's childhood to life.
The scene when she's telling the story of her mother's death,
Right.
The camps, it's so overwhelming. Were there moments along the way when you thought, this is too much, we have to stop, it's too much?
Not for us. I mean, I think because I grew up listening to these kinds of stories. I mean, I've been watching archival footage of survivors and concentration camps since I was like 10 years old, probably. And hearing the stories around the dinner table and every time we get together with family, because there are other survivors in my family. So these stories, nothing was shocking. I mean, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but we did constantly have to think about our audience and who are we trying to get this film to, and is this too much for them?
We want this film to play for an 11-year-old.
We want to push it as far as we can, but we also want
yes.
teenagers to be able to watch it. We want parents to bring their kids to the film, and so that was always in our mind. You know, who's the audience? How are we going to get this to them in the best way possible?
Well, so along with Sonia's alterations business, and you kind of referred to it earlier, is her vocation a lot public speaking, you know? And she's
Yeah,
giving
it's
witness,
her-
right, to the experience of the
Her
Holocaust.
part-time job, yeah.
What prompted her to start going out publicly and speaking? What was?
Well, she always says that she was watching TV one day and saw on the news that there were skinheads who were denying that the Holocaust happened. That sparked something in her to think about her own experience, and she realized that if she doesn't go out and talk about it, then people might be able to deny it if she doesn't speak as a witness. And so that was probably 15, 20 years ago when that happened. It was really when Regina, her oldest daughter, decided that she's going to put together a PowerPoint presentation of the actual history to give what Sonia talks about some context. And now they're the dynamic duo.
And thank you for having me.
There's a scene in the movie that is so poignant when she goes to a prison and she's talking to inmates, men, in for very serious crimes. Talk about shooting that scene.
We shot it twice, actually, because the first time was really overwhelming for us. And what happens in that scene blew us away. I mean, to see grown men cry, grown hardened criminals cry, and be broken down to a place that she takes people was incredible for us.
I was starting out a life sentence, and, you know, at 17 with a life sentence.
I was young and immature when I came to prison. I was not a humble person. Sometimes you never know who you're going to meet is going to change your life and what shape or form they're going to come in.
At the end of that scene, we saw Sonia in the most authentic place that I've ever seen her, I think.
They understand her, and she understands them.
They're
you know,
behind wire. They
Yeah,
both,
they're
have
locked up.
there's a camaraderie.
they're locked up, and she's been locked up.
In a 2017 New York Times article, Sonia says that she'd prefer to stay out of politics. Is that hard when the president says that there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides, unquote, of a neo-Nazi demonstration? Can you stay out of politics?
Well,
We couldn't have picked a better time to make this movie.
yeah.
Sadly.
You know, we
Sadly.
premiered the film the day after the election.
The world premiere?
Yes. The world premiere at festivals.
To a very
at festivals.
subdued audience
Yeah.
the day after the election.
Oh.
It was a very interesting day to have a movie premiere.
The film has given us a tool in the last year to reach people who believe in all kinds of things. And you know, the message of love over hate, there's never been a more important time for that than this last year, and it's just maybe serendipity or the way that the universe works that the film came out when it did, and that it's now giving people hope, a little bit of hope, and that message, no matter what you believe in, is hard to dispute.
My greatest fulfillment is speaking to the students in schools. If I reach their hearts and they'll make a change in their life, this would be my greatest accomplishment.
Thank you.
In the midst of making Big Sonia, another story was unfolding, and it was the Leah and Todd romance. In fact, you got married 2013.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like, wow, that was ambitious. So here you are making a movie and living and being married, and that's 24/7, constant. So tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, we met before we started filming the movie. We were dating when
And
we
we're still
started
married.
filming. Yeah, we're
Which-
still
that's
married.
incredible.
You're still married. I know that's actually the big thing. Like, wow, you're still married after all.
Yeah, the film wouldn't have happened without Todd. Actually, Todd is Sonia's favorite now, and so that's been very helpful. There are many things that I can't talk with my family about that, fortunately, Todd does.
It's almost a buffer a little bit.
Yes, it's definitely
For
a
sure.
buffer, and we do different jobs, which is helpful. There's not a whole lot of crossover. There's some, we both direct, but in a way we have very separate missions, when we're on set, so that's helpful. And I can't
I think
remember
she
when
could
we
see,
got engaged.
No, she saw from the beginning that it would be a good idea to marry
I needed
an editor.
Yeah, I knew how expensive it was
You're
going
so
to be.
expensive. I mean, come on.
I mean, really.
For a reason.
I wasn't getting paid, but I knew that I would need to pay somebody else to make the movie, so
Oh, I can so relate to that.
it was a business decision, but then also...
But then it worked. We
from
fell
this one.
deeply, madly in love before we started working on this. I mean,
Yeah, thank God.
it was a
Rocket power.
one date kind of thing. It's like, okay, I'm
This is
quitting my
it.
job and going freelance, and we're gonna make movies together.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make a movie like this again, though.
Yeah.
Oh, come
Well,
on.
who knows? You
I
never
think
know,
it's-
sweetie.
yeah,
you didn't know
I
you were going to make
think
this one. I don't know. I can trust
true.
you.
Yeah, I'm not a reliable
I was
source.
thinking about like just documentaries in general, good ones. They do not sugarcoat their subject or the story.
Right, right.
And you don't paint Sonia as a saint.
Exactly.
Was it hard to do that with her being your grandmother?
That first
Yeah.
screening of our first cut for her was difficult.
We were very nervous to show her.
Well, yeah, tell me
She's
about
a
that.
perfectionist. She cares very much about appearance, physically and emotionally. So it was tough showing anything negative. But that's the only way to authentically
Absolutely.
show who she is. Nobody wants to watch a film about a hero with no flaws. All heroes are flawed, and
And you're not going to like them if you don't see the flaws.
Well, it opens the door to a side of the film that makes it more relatable to an audience who didn't experience the trauma that her family experienced.
Absolutely.
right.
We've all survived something.
Yes.
Every family has
Yes.
a dark spot.
I really tried my best to protect them. There are some things I didn't want them to know.
The hard part is watching your mother relive these moments and then watching her pain.
So I can remember laying in bed at night, envisioning what the barracks were like. Could I have survived it, what it would be like to see your mother walking to the gas chamber.
Was it interesting getting to know your grandmother in a new way? How would you describe your relationship with her when you started the film and now?
I could write the book on that.
Well,
Perhaps you will.
I don't think I had a relationship with her growing up because I didn't live in the same state ever. And she was my grandmother. We'd see her a couple times a year at holidays or family get-togethers. But in terms of us going out and doing anything together or having a real relationship, we just didn't have opportunities like that. So the relationship that I have with her is I'd say solely been through the film and the experiences that we've been able to have because of the movie. know, going to a film festival isn't something that a normal 92-year-old grandmother gets to do.
No.
I had no idea that my grandmother could party so hard, but she can actually outlast all of us.
Wow.
She can drink me under the table.
Serious?
She has this way in the world. I mean, you've met her, you
Yeah.
know. She just has a way in the world, and when you get her out of her element,
Yeah.
you know, like when she came to Seattle and we went to Pike Place Market,
Yeah.
you know, and she's at the level of the fish and
Yeah,
like
I mean,
all the
she's
food.
tiny,
So she's
right.
just like taking things, taking things,
So
taking
tactile.
things, eating everything, you know, smelling everything, touching everything. And I remember looking at Todd that day and I said, you know, this is the first day that I've actually felt like I have a grandmother. Because we're doing something that doesn't have to do with the Holocaust. We're not talking about the Holocaust.
This was last year.
We're going out
year.
and like we're doing something that I think is what you're supposed to do with grandparents. But I didn't really have that
Yeah.
before, so.
I think, oddly, for Leah, the way to get access to her family story was to put up this lens and
Yeah.
be busy behind the lens and talk to her dad and her aunts and her grandma.
Almost
and
like not really looking at them.
No, I got my clipboard.
Yeah.
We got that shot. We got
Yeah.
this shot. We got that shot. She can be busy making a movie, but it gave us access to stories that her family was willing to tell us that we wouldn't have had without the movie.
So, Dad, I didn't really know Grandma that well growing up, but it seems like there would be a lot of pressure on you.
Well, it's a burden and a gift. And each one of us kind of has dealt with it in different ways.
You did great.
You're welcome, honey.
Good job.
How has making the movie changed you, both of you?
Well, I think for me, it's helped me understand that you don't really know what people are going through. And so I tried to be more compassionate and have some more empathy for everybody that I meet, because the film has taught us that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And we've been shouldering a lot of those stories after our screenings now. And you just don't know by looking at someone what they've gone through. And I think I have been fairly judgmental and really quick to judge in the past. And I'm trying to be better about that now. And the film has taught me a lot about having more compassion and empathy.
That's beautiful.
What about you?
You took mine.
That's not true.
Thought you don't want to make another film about family.
Yeah, I'm done with movies about your family.
Yeah, that's a big undertaking. I don't think we'd do that again.
One of the reasons I was drawn to the film was because of the family story that I saw, not initially, but as we got deeper into Sonia's story, that this was really a story about me and my family. And, you know, I had grandparents who fought during the Second World War who didn't talk about what happened to them and the horrible things that they saw. I think it probably affected my mom in some way, and it really made me think about why my family is the way it is now, and gave me a little forgiveness for my mom.
Yeah, interesting.
I saw after meeting Sonia that maybe I should have a little more humility and give my parents a break, you know? And also, you know, tell your story. Find out what your family did, where they came from, what happened. Because it's ultimately, it'll help you.
Yeah.
What a fabulous takeaway.
It's not heavy at all, right?
No.
It's beautiful. I love it. Well,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, Big Sonia. It's screening, I know, in theaters all around the country, and you can catch it in Seattle at SIF Cinema. More information is at bigsonia.com. Well, I thought we would end with a song featured in the film,
Yes.
right? As performed by two friends of yours, Taylor Lynn and Bradley Lena, friends of ours too, actually.
Right.
Vaudeville Etiquette, we've had them on the show before, and they do a
they're
beautiful, beautiful song, and I believe it's called Oh.
And we actually have a soundtrack for the movie because Brad went so above and beyond. So that's on our website
The
now
score
as
is
well.
beautiful. Yeah. really proud of that.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Really terrific talking to you.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Sing me an oh, 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 and I'll sing you an oh, 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 oh. Just sing me an oh, 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 and I'll sing you an oh, 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 oh. All right, okay, all right, okay, just fine. All right, okay, all right, okay, just fine. Sing me an oh, 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 and I'll sing you an oh.